Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commodore Scott Lockie. We warmly welcome the family of Private George Alfred Yung, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL and Services Club Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the ceremony broadcast across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors, and students on behalf of the Compass Foundation Schools Conference Group. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private George Alfred Yung. Alfred Yung was born in Happy Valley, Victoria in 1892, the eldest son and third of 5 children of George and Clara Young. He attended school in Yendon and then at Ballarat High School before becoming a teacher himself at Ballon and Yendon, and then head teacher at Greenland Dam near Horsham. In February 1916, Young left his position to enlist in the Australian Imperial Force. He was followed a few weeks later by his younger brother Ernest, who served in a different battalion from his brother. Alfred Yung was selected for non-commissioned officer training at Geelong and then officers training school at Duntroon. He completed the course with a recommendation for commission, but left Australia for active service overseas before receiving one. Private Young travelled to England on board the troop ship Ballarat, along with hundreds of Australian reinforcements to infantry battalions, machine gun companies and a railway unit. On the afternoon of Anzac Day 1917, while still some miles from port, the Ballarat was torpedoed in the English Channel. It soon became clear that the ship would sink, and the nearly 1,700 men on board prepared to evacuate. All on board got away safely and were later commended for their magnificent discipline and steadiness in leaving the stricken ship. Private Young continued training in England before joining the 7th Battalion on the Western Front in early July 1917. His first experience of a major battle came some two and a half months later at Menin Road in Belgium. On the 19th of September, the men of the 7th Battalion, having been served a hot meal and a hot drink, made their way to the front line following a boggy and slippery route in the heavy rain. By the early hours of the following morning, they were in position on the assembly lines and prepared to assault the German positions. The attack went ahead on time, and the 7th Battalion met little resistance, establishing positions on their objective line and then sending parties out to assist other battalions on their flanks. Private Young did not survive the operation. In the early dawn, he was shot through the head as he moved from one shell hole to another. He was reportedly killed instantly by the shot and suffered absolutely no pain. One man who was nearby, Lance Corporal Williams, later remarked on the coolness of Young throughout the advance. Private Young was buried near where he fell. A number of soldiers wrote to Young's parents in Murtoa, giving reports of his grave. However, his battlefield grave was lost in later fighting, and today Private Young has no known resting place, but he is commemorated on the Menin Gate Memorial, to the missing. He was 25 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private George Alfred Yung, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post-ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.